All right, here's a few more examples of how to write an equation if they give you the graph. So if we look at this one right here, obviously they're all going to start with y, and then you need to figure out whether it's greater than or less than. And since this is shaded below the line, it's going to be less than. And since this is a solid line, it's going to be less than or equal to. If this had been shaded above the line, it would be greater than. And if it was a dotted line instead of a solid line, then we wouldn't have this little thing here on the bottom. So that's the first part that you have to figure out, is the greater than or less than. The next thing you have to do is you have to figure out what the slope is. And they give you 2 points to work with on the graph. And those points are what you're going to use to figure out the slope. So you start with the one on the left-hand side, and the first thing you do is you count how many squares does it take for you to get up to the same level as the other point. So if I started this one here on the left, I'd have to go up 1, 2, 3 to get up to the level of this point. So my slope is going to be up 3. And then to figure out what number goes on the bottom, I count how many squares over I have to go. So in this case, that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that would be up 3 over 7 from this point right here on the left to that point right there on the right. So that is my slope. So then I toss an x in after that. And then since it crosses the y-axis right here at 1, I'm going to put a +1 there on the end, and I am good to go. So the equation for this graph right here would be y is less than or equal to 3/7 x plus 1. Now I noticed they gave you the slope formula to figure this out instead, if you want to do that instead of counting the squares. So if you wanted to, you could take this point right here as being x1, y1, and this point right here as being x2, y2, and then the other way that you can find out the slope is if you go y2 minus y1, or in this case 4 minus 1, divided by x2 minus x1, which would be 7 minus 0, then that will give you the same answer if you want to use that formula instead. Sometimes it's easier if they give you the graph just to count the squares, but that's up to you. Alright, so let's take a look at one more. Same thing. First we're going to start with the y. Then we need to figure out less than or greater than, and since this is shaded above, it's going to be y is greater than. Since this is a dotted line right here, I will not put the line underneath. It's just greater than, not equal to. So now I have to figure out the slope. So 2 different ways I can do that. One is I can just count the squares on the graph. I'm going to start with the left-hand point and try and get down to this one right here. So to get from here down to there, I have to go down 1, 2, 3, and since I went down, that's going to be -3, and then I have to go over 1, 2, 3, 4. So that would give me a slope of -3/4, and then I put an x in there. Again, if you want to use the formula that they give you for the slope instead, that would be y2, which is -5, minus y1, which is -2, over x1, which is 4, x2 minus x1, which is 0. And 5 minus a -2 is, -5 minus a -2 is really -5 plus 2, because these two negatives cancel out and make a positive. 4 minus 0 is 4. And then -5 plus 2 is -3 over 4. So you see, you can get the same answer either way, whether you use the formula or whether you just count the squares on the graph. And then once you have that, the last thing you have to do is figure out where it crosses the y-axis. That one crosses the y-axis at -2, so I'm going to put a -2 there on the end. And that is my equation or inequality for this graph. Okay? So figure out greater than, less than, figure out whether it's a dotted line or a solid line, figure out what the slope is, find the y-intercept, and you're good to go. All right, hope that helps. Good luck.